Maimer is from Tafshin Lamed Vav, Shabbos Parshas Vayikra. In that quiz, there was a leap year, so it was in the middle of Adar Sheni. Vayikra al Moshe Goimer, Hashem called to Moshe. It's known the analysis of our Rabbeim, our teachers, our leaders, about this. The first time, or where this is noted, is on the Torah and Vayikra right away at the beginning. The Tzarech Lahavan, we need to understand, Lama Nema Vayikra al Moshe Stam. Why does it say, without indication, he called to Moshe? It wasn't mentioned at all in the pasuk who was calling. It says, it doesn't say Vayikra Hashem al Moshe. And then afterwards in the pasuk he continues, and he spoke, that Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he told him, Adam ki Yaakov karben mekem lahavai, etc. So then he spoke, and he said, then it said, Vaydaber Hashem Elav. So it starts off Vayikra without saying who it is, and then it says Vaydaber Hashem. The Isa of Medrash, the Medrash says, don't think that the Vayikra and Vaydaber is two separate things. That the Vayikra, even though it doesn't say who the Vayikra was, and the Vaydaber, it says on Avaya, so the Medrash says, no, don't confuse that. Amra Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Ani hu HaKodah, Ani hu HaMedaber. I am both the one that calls, Vayikra, and I am also the one that's speaking, like it says, Vaydaber Avaya. Hinem Loshna Medrash Maskar Loshna Ani B'Shneim, Hein BaKodah V'Hein BaMedaber. The fact that the Medrash mentions the expression I by both of them, both where he says Ani HaKodah, Ani HaMedaber, both by the I'm the caller and I'm the one that's speaking, but he doesn't say it together. He could have said Ani HaKodah VaMedaber. The Medrash said, I am the one who calls to you or calls to Moshe, and I'm the not repeating the word I again. I'm the one who calls and I'm the one who speaks. So the fact that the Medrash divides them, it's understood that the Medrash is analyzing and dividing it and being very exact, that these are two aspects. He explains, these are two distinct levels. In the Mamorim that say these two distinct levels is because it says twice Ani. Whenever the Torah repeats itself, it's obviously for a purpose. So the repetition of saying Ani twice indicates there is this level of Ani and that level of Ani. And in the levels that's referring to, there are two approaches in the Mamorim. Pirish Aleph, one approach is the Metchila hu abchina shu HaKodah ulamayl mazeh abchina shu HaMedaber. Initially, the lower level is the level of the caller, the one who calls, and then higher than that is the level of the one that is speaking. That's why it says Ani hu HaKodah Ani hu HaMedaber. First, there's the lower level of Hashem calling, and then there's a higher level of Hashem speaking. But Pirush Abayz, there's an alternate, a different way of looking at this from the Rebbe Rashab. The Ani hu HaKodah hu l'maylam b'chinas Ani hu HaMedaber. That when it says I am the one that calls, that is beyond and higher than I am the one that is speaking. So the Rebbe first is going to explain what's the idea of Ani in general before we get into the connection with Kodah Medaber. What's the significance of Ani? Being closing in the Ani hu Masha Ani hu oisius ein. The general idea of Ani is that Ani is the same letters like the word ein. And also it says Ani Rishon Ani Achron. I am the first and I am the last. The Ani Rishon hu b'chinas HaKeser. I am the first. What is it referring to? Which level is it referring to? It's referring to the Keser, because that's the first level from which the Seder Ishtalshlus begins once we have Oilus. Vani Achrein, and I am the final one who begins HaMalchus, Sefer the Kol Darkness. That's referring to the level of Spheres HaMalchus, the end of all levels, the final one of the 10 spheres. And we know the Keser Elyon in Ihu Keser Malchus. We have this in Pasuk Eliyahu. We say this every Erev Shabbos, that Keser Elyon, the high Keser, that is the same Keser of Malchus. In other words, these two Anis are associated with each other, saying that Ani Rishon is the level of Keser, and Ani Achron is the level of Malchus, and that's like we're going to connect it through to Ani HaKodev Ani HaMedaber. It's really one idea. It's one thing. And this is also the simple meaning, and when we use the expression I am the first and I am the last, the Shneim, both of them, I am the first and I am the last, they're really in one level. That's why Keser Elyon, you Keser Malchus. But despite the fact they're all considered in the same level, Mikol Makim Yesh Lahevdol B'neiim, and still in all, there is a distinction, a difference between them. Therefore, he differentiates the Anihu HaKodev Anihu HaMedaber, or the Echad HaKodev Echad HaMedaber. One of these Anis is the one that is calling, and one of these Anis is the one that's speaking. This is what it means over there, that I'm the one that's calling and I'm the one that's speaking. That goes on the level of Keser, is called the one that's calling. And the one that's speaking, that's a level of B'chinas HaMalchus, which also fits in with the way we a lot of times speak about Dibur, has to do with the level of Malchus. Or like the other explanation. So then, that goes according to the second explanation, that Anihu HaKodev is the higher level, and Anihu HaMedaber is the lower level. That was the second explanation we had before. But then, or like the other explanation in the matter, the Anihu HaKodev, Anihu HaMedaber, Himzo Malchus, Kemevur Protei, like explain the details of the matters of this in the Mamorim on this pasuk about how Anihu HaKodev, Anihu HaMedaber goes on Zerampin and Malchus. Let's see how he brings it back to the Medrash. According to this, they explain the Madrash. Why does it say, and he called? But it doesn't explain who was the one that called. That's because of the two extremes. Both from the perspective that I am the one that's called, that I'm the one that's calling, the level of Keser, the first Ani. Since it's higher than the entire chain order of descent, it's beyond and higher than every type of idea of revelation. Therefore, it's impossible to say who is the one that's calling, because it's beyond that level of revelation. So now he says that also the level of Anihu HaMedaber limits or constricts our naming it as well. Also from the perspective that I'm the one that's speaking, Bechinas HaMalchus, the level of Malchus on the Achron, I'm the final one. Since Malchus is the level that's concealed in the worlds. Top of the next page, 133. It's impossible to say who is the one that is speaking, even though in the pasuk it does say Vaydaber Havaya, but still in all, in the Medrash, he chooses to not use the word Dibur when it comes to that, not to use the Shem Havaya. He just says Ani HaMedaber, meaning without identifying who it is, even concerning the Dibur, because when you talk about Malchus, the level of Dibur, Malchus becomes concealed in the world. With this, we also explained the Mambar, why Vayikra is in a small letter Aleph. As opposed to Divrei Yom, it says Adam be'Aleph Rabbasi. It says Adam with a large letter Aleph. The beginning of Divrei Yom, it enumerates the generations. It starts Adam with a large Aleph. The idea behind this is the Niklolis, in general, the majority of the letters of the Torah, Atvan Beinanin, are regular, average-sized letters. Shazel B'Roiva Torah Kula. That's the majority of the Torah is written with normal-sized letters. V'yeshnam atman ravravin. But we also know there are large letters. V'yeshnam atman zeirin. And we also know there are small letters in the Torah. It's explained in many places. The atman ravravin bebina. That the large letters have to do with the level of spheres habina. And v'atvan beinim bezah. And the medium-sized, the average-sized letters, the normal-sized letters are in Zeir Ampin in the midas. V'atvan ze'irim v'malchus. And the small letters, that's in Spheres HaMalchus. So now we can understand the difference between by Divrei Hayomim, where it enumerates the history of man, and it starts off with Adam Harishon. V'zel mashe eisel Adam Harishon ksiv Adam ba'al frabasa. That's why by Adam Harishon it says the word Adam with a large size aleph. In Adam Harishon, who the idea of Adam Harishon is Shut Chilas Kol Seder Ishtalshus, is the beginning of the entire chain order of descent. Shezel bedugmel the sphere of Bina. That is similar to the sphere of Bina, because Adam was the beginning of everything. He started everything off, both begashmias and symbolizes the levels beruchnias. The same thing in Atzilus. What levels, like the beginning of the spheres and what comes afterwards, it's a level of Bina. The inyan who gamkin al derech, that idea of Bina is also in a similar vein to Adam Harishon. It's similar to Adam Harishon. It's beyond the chain order of descent. It is beyond and still considered the beginning of Seder Ishtalshlos to such degree until we say that she is considered the mother of the children. So in other words, she has to do with her offspring, she has to do with bringing about the midas. She's associated with the hemshech of Seder Ishtalshlos. For this reason, by Adam Harishon it says the large aleph, because the atvan ravravin bibina, because as we mentioned before, that the large letters is in spheres habina. The inyan habina who bedugmas inyanoi shel Adam Harishon. The level of bina is similar to what Adam Harishon is, just like Adam Harishon is a level, it's the beginning. It's also, I think, connected. Adam Harishon is Chassidus associates with the level of Adam Kadmon. Adam Kadmon is also like the beginning of Seder Ishtalshlos after the Tzimtzum Harishon. So therefore, we begin with the large letter Aleph. Masha'enkin Vayikra, B'chinas HaMalchus, as opposed to Vayikra, is in the spheres of Malchus, like we were talking about before. That according to one view, Vayikra and Vayidaber, we were speaking about before, that instead of Vayikra being higher and Vayidaber being lower, meaning Vayikra is talking about beyond everything. And Vayidaber is lower, Anirish, Vani Achren. The other way of explaining it is Vayikra is going on Malchus and Vayidaber is going on Zeir Ampin. And that's why it's concealed and so on. So therefore, since it's a level of the spheres of Malchus, therefore it's the small letter Aleph, the Atvan Zeirim Malchus, because the small letters are in the spheres of Malchus.